Hey folks, welcome into another episode of the Motivated Mindset Podcast. And I hope that wherever you're watching or listening today that you're doing absolutely fantastic. And today I'm fortunate enough to have a guest join me that I discovered on, and not long ago, and I don't know much about her, which is cool why she's coming on, but over on LinkedIn and Instagram platforms, she was posting some high energy, positive stuff, putting some good juju into the universe. And I thought, I got to find out about this if I can. So I reached out. She was gracious enough to join me. I find her here with me today. She's a coach. She's a keynote speaker. She's a facilitator. We're going to find out what that is. And she's a mom. She's just a busy gal. So I'm grateful that she's carved out the time to join us today. So let's learn about what all else motivates the mindset of my next guest, Kate McCauley. And thanks for joining us. Kate, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to chat.
Boy, well, we pulled the wool over your eyes. This is one great to have you. Happy belated New Year and happy daylight savings time. Have you felt the effects of it yet?
The struggle is real here. So as you mentioned, I am a mom. I have 3 children who all think they know best, because, one will be an official teenager at the end of March. So I'm on the verge of 3 teenagers in our house.
Boys, girls, girls, boys.
So I have, my husband calls them bookends. I have an oldest son and a youngest son and a daughter in the middle. I think the bookend is to protect her in some way. Who knows? Although she's small but fierce. So some people might say, maybe she's the crazy one in the middle. Who knows? But yes, daylight savings time, came in. And of course, I'm telling them, you need to get to bed. This is going to hit you hard. And maybe 2 days later, and they're like, no, not at all. Well, yeah, they were barely getting out of bed on Monday. And then Tuesday, it's been a struggle, but we're getting a little bit better. How about you?
Same thing. It's gonna probably take me until the weekend. But I'm resentful. I enjoy waking up when the sun is out. I don't want to wake up as a vampire or a mole. And that's the sacrifice you make Eastern Standard Time, and forgetting that extra hour or so in the evening. But yeah, it's it's a shock to the system, but nothing a little caffeine wouldn't address, right? So
absolutely,
you're a Philadelphia, you're a Northeast girl. You live in the outskirts, right?
Oh, no, not the Northeast, south of the city. Be careful with that because
when we talk about Northeast from Southwest Florida, the Northeast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Northeast Philly. I was like, did you do a little bit of digging there? No. So yes, I'm in the Northeast.
Yes.
I'm outside of Philly, south of the city. Folsom, yes. So it's about 15 minutes outside of the city. And it's called Delaware County. And a lot of people here in Delco, as we say, we know each other. So I went really rogue and I married someone who grew up, I should say, in Southwest Philadelphia. And now he's a suburb boy, lives, we're outside of the city, but we do go into Philadelphia a lot. We were just there this past weekend for an event and, we love all our teams, all that good stuff. So I bring the Philly vibe a little bit to everything I do, good or bad, however you want to see that.
Well, St. Pat's Day is on Friday coming up, and you were celebrating this past weekend on Broad Street with a parade, and how was that? So let me ask you a question about it, because I saw you had the garb on. Do you have relations to the Steamfitters Union, 720? Is that
420? Yes. So my husband is the steamfitter, and so he's very much involved with the union, and goes to a lot of the events if we can. We do the Labor Day parade and the St. Patrick's Day parade. We dragged the kids. The oldest didn't make it this year because he was still, sleeping. We were like, we're picking our battles. Yes. So yes, we were, had all our Steamfitters gear on and we proudly marched with them. It's pretty cool to just see all of the different people and groups that are, walking down the road there that day. It's awesome.
You ever do the mummers, the string band?
No, not as a mummer, but we've of course
seen it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
if we don't, isn't that a phenomenon? Like if you were to query, nationwide about the mummers parade or string bands in particular, the comics division and all this stuff, it's really kind of like an eerily provincial thing that takes place, and it's huge in the
It is.
Philadelphia area. It's really crazy, but
I mean, if you're from this area, it would not be odd for you to see someone with a mummer's umbrella strutting at a wedding, at graduation parties. You know, this is just part of it. Actually, the steam fitters always have a string band that comes along with them from the mummers, and they come during the St. Patrick's Day parade, you know, so it's just a part of who we are. And we are very lucky to know some people who get involved with the organization of the clubs. I went to college with some of those people. They live locally. So we're always, rooting for certain people to, place in the parade and whatnot. So it's a cool tradition.
It is definitely a cool tradition, as is visiting the Reading terminal when you were there, right? How great.
Oh, yeah. That's delicious. The kids got a lot of treats there. I will admit we went to get cheesesteak somewhere else, but you went
to South Street at Gino's, right? Or something
yes,
like that?
We did. Yeah.
Okay, so
we figured we're in this city. We're going to just hit it all while we're here.
One fell swoop. My youngest daughter, we have 3 daughters. The youngest lives in South Philly. And so we're right there at Passyunk and Pat's and Gino's. And in fact, Tony Luke, have you ever heard of Tony Luke's?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, it's delicious.
Her home in South Philly, adjacent to that and actually connected to it up until 6 months ago when Tony Luke sold it and demolished it. Was the commissary where they used to do all the food prep and everything like that. So, yeah, we get up there a couple times a year. We'll be up in May and hit Reading Terminal and do all that kind of good stuff. And the other 2 girls are in southern New Jersey. But I got to ask you, so did you grow up in that area in Folsom and Delco?
I did. I grew up in Delco, so just around the corner, really. My parents live here, yeah. So I've spent the majority of my life here, except for Penn State when I was a Penn Stater, and then some summers down the shore. I like to tell people we did Jersey Shore before Jersey Shore was a thing that everyone knew about. So, but yes, in this area, my whole life.
When you went down the shore,
right?
Down the shore, which shore did you visit? Where do you go?
So I'm a Sea Isle girl, Sea Isle City. That's where I actually met my husband, and my mom's family had a house there. So I was a toddler, going up and down the street to the beach there. And then when you get older, some people get houses together with their friends. And that's what I ended up doing for many summers. And I met him through a mutual friend in Sea Isle City.
Down the shore. Yep.
Down the shore.
Long Beach Island and Ocean City folk ourselves, but that was it. I mean, we absolutely loved it. Now, so you mentioned Penn State. You went to Penn State to get your bachelor's, I believe, right? And then you went on to Temple. So you're a Nittany Lion. You're a Temple Owl.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So you graduate from school, right? Or you go to school. Well, let me ask you. So you were a teacher for years, I understand. Was it something that got you interested, like a mentor or a teacher yourself that you saw as a young person that you said, wow, did that inspire or have anything to do with your career path and your decision moving on?
To become an educator, you mean?
Yes.
Absolutely. So I come from a long line of educators. My mother is a phenomenal retired teacher. She taught biology for her entire career. My grandmother was a teacher. I have some aunts and uncles sprinkled in there who have taught different things through, out their life and have different careers. Some of them now, some are still in education. So I have a lot of role models, but I would definitely say that my mom was the number one educator. I have always and will always admire all that she does and the impact that she made. So I was lucky to have a great role model for that.
So you kind of followed in her footsteps. You graduated college, and tell me a little bit about your entry into the world of education. How did you find yourself there? So
I love participating in a lot of different sports, and I decided to become a health and phys ed teacher. So awesome. Different from my mom, since she was in the biology world. And I figured, oh my gosh, I can wear sneakers all of the time and teach kids how to do these fun sports. I'm in. So went to Penn State for that. What's that?
Sign me up.
Sign you up. Yeah, exactly. So, and I absolutely was living in my purpose throughout my career. I was a teacher for 20 years in the public school system. So a long time. I was at the elementary level for my first 5 years, and then I moved to the high school level. And I was very lucky to get involved with a lot of programs outside of the classroom. I ran, fairy godmother dress giveaways and different events within the community so that we could build that school community. And I absolutely loved it. But things started to shift and change. And I would say probably the last 6 years of my career as an educator, it was starting to become very toxic. And I desperately tried to make a
In what
change.
way? In what way? How was it toxic?
Oh, how much time do you have, Bobby?
Well,
So,
I understand that's a broad word, but enough.
I'm going to tell you. I am going to tell you. So here's what happened. I was teaching in an urban school district that is about 20 minutes from where I live. And the students there are phenomenal, but many of them bring some trauma and baggage that is out of their control, really, as children. And when they come into the building, that comes with them. So sometimes those experiences impacted their behavior, and there would be fights. It started to escalate to weapons and, gangs and different things. And the administrative team wanted to pretend like it wasn't really a problem. Now, if you had asked me this when I first resigned, I probably would have never told you any of that because I felt bad. I didn't want to talk about the problem, but it really does exist in some settings. And I desperately tried to fix it. So did the other teachers, and it was going to deaf ears.
How do you, so I was going to ask you, how do you try to fix, because that's beyond toxic. When you talk about, it escalating from fights and then the introduction of weapons and then the gang scenario, how did you voice that? And what do you do?
Well, you know me a little bit because we connected recently, but I said it very loudly on many occasions. I had a gun pointed at me after conferences in the parking lot outside, and I was, screaming on the phone 911 the next day. I literally got to a point of, not in front of the students, but in offices with administrators who wanted me to be quiet and not tell anyone that there was a gun in our parking lot. I would loudly vocalize to the administrators, you need to do something about this. I would march right over to the office and say, so-and-so down the hallway is not okay. A chair was just thrown in her class. 3 boys came in to fight another student. You need to go get coverage for her. So I would vocalize that you need to open your eyes and pay attention. I also offered to bring in different organizations. Can we try this? Can we try that? Sometimes they would nod their head and let us do a little bit of change, but there was no follow through. There was not consequences that were related to the behavior. So they weren't appropriate. So kids could do those behaviors and then go to the next class.
And why do you suppose they wanted to keep that quiet in your estimation?
It looks bad. Nobody wants to say to the community, nobody wants to be on the news saying that this is happening. So they want to, keep it all locked up inside our hallways, secrets in the, hallways.
That's amazing, because lives would be at stake. I mean, you had a gun pointed to your head. I mean, that must have been terrifying. Absolutely.
Well, it was pointed in my direction, although just as bad, not pointed directly at my head. It was I know I'm making excuses still, right? But, when I left, I resigned in April of 2021 to step fully into my business. And the following school year, there were some very violent situations where it went to a full county assist, and the police had to show up, from all municipalities because there was a riot. And finally, they have started to make some change. I'm following a little bit because some of the educators who I love and consider very close friends are still there. So it breaks my heart to see this happening to them, but I'm following a little bit and hopeful that they'll make some change. But I got to be honest, I'm not sure if they're still really listening. So,
well, you say the final 6 years of your 20-year tenure, you started to see a little bit of some writing on the wall, and you started to address it. It was during that course of the time you said that you had this other career going on. Was it kind of just in the background, and were you planning an exit strategy, or was it a hobby? I mean, what did you? So because I understand you're a coach, and well, let me ask you this before you answer that, and in addition to that, how it seems like it's a really good dovetail fit, right? An educator and a coach, obviously. So how long was that brewing, and was that part and parcel of the plan to get out?
Absolutely. So I was making an exit strategy, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think that I really would have done it if COVID had not happened to us. And why I went the coaching route, as a mother, and if you're in the fitness world, I am always thinking of different ways to stay healthy. So within my group of what I call the mom tribe, awesome women locally, and some who have kind of moved on, but we connect through social media. I had private Facebook groups and I was running fitness challenges, positive statements and things like that. A lot of what I do now with my one-to-one clients who are within group coaching and my speaking engagements. So I started to notice that although I didn't consider myself, an expert, I still don't. I don't have the answers to everything, but I was able to provide guidance in a way where sometimes other people were afraid to say it. I was giving the honest truth and then saying like, let's do this together. Let's build a community together. So I had done those things. I experienced a miscarriage in 2013.
Yeah.
Thank you. But what I will say from that, I let myself go, so to speak, and just, wasn't taking care of me, wasn't putting myself on the list. I had my 3 children already and, felt like, I don't know what happened here. I was in that toxic work environment, but I leaned on that community and we did some fitness challenges. We did the positive things and I did it for them, but I really did it for me too.
Selfishly.
So yeah, definitely. And I say still to my clients, every time I have a coaching call, I gain, I'm inspired by them.
Yes, without question.
Right?
You're the selfish benefit. You're the beneficiary of what do they say that we teach that which we must learn, or
absolutely
vice versa, or something to that effect. So you're the beneficiary that you've got. These
absolutely
groups, got
right. So I started to think, what am I good at that I can do? But I will admit that I was also throwing spaghetti at the wall because I needed to get out of this situation somehow. Now it took me 6 years because I had little kids at that point, and I was thinking, what am I supposed to do? I'm a teacher. I would Google, what else can I do with my teaching degree? And I finally started to shift thinking about my skills. And some of those skills were that people come to me for advice. I like guiding people. It lights me up to do those challenges. And, not that everything is sunshine and rainbows, but to, how can we shift this perspective, change our mindset? What can we do? So I was starting to change and figure out what can I do? So I got certified as a health coach. And then I also, oddly, a totally different direction, became OSHA certified because of that steam fitter thing. I was thinking, well, maybe I could, take the women-owned thing that direction because I was determined that something was going to get me out of this situation. So I have this random OSHA certification that apparently is lifetime. So when we drive places, I notice weird things that I don't know why.
Your scaffolding falling
exactly,
down. That
exactly. I'm like, I don't really think that that's appropriate, but so it's just, I was really desperate to get out. And then COVID hit. I was at home with my 3 kids virtually learning, thrown into the virtual world of teaching. I also, at one point, I had 6 kids in our house because my sister-in-laws are nurses and they were, working every day, obviously. So I had a kindergartner, a first grader.
Wow. Yeah.
Third. Yeah. I mean, I had 6 kids, like from kindergarten into 9th grade, my son at that time. So I learned by, building the plane as I was flying it, how to do this. You and I talking, virtually, and I was teaching virtually. I was actually teaching to a lot of bubbles. The students didn't want to come on, so it would just be like no picture. So I had to build a rapport. So then now I do that when I'm on Instagram or if I'm coaching on Zoom or if I'm doing a virtual workshop. And then when I get to be in person, that is when really the energy just is like, flowing because I love that in-person vibe as well.
And there's nothing quite like that. I definitely, with the COVID, that really was a transformative scenario, but there was a silver lining. And so you get this coaching. So you develop this. So you have this Danu now. Mm-hmm. Tell me what Danu now is.
Okay. So Danu is my company, and the Danu now, work with me now. Danu is actually an Irish goddess. I named my company after an Irish goddess. I had a company when I was in my early 20s. I'm trying to think back when this was, named Athena. And I did summer camps, which was very much in line with the phys ed part of my life.
Sure.
So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with the goddess, laying there. And I picked Danu. She is
The goddess of what?
She's considered the mother of Ireland. She, gives wisdom, and so there's a lot of different stories about Danu and like the children of Danu and that type of thing. So for me, I connect with it from the Irish side of it and also the goddess side and just wearing a lot of hats as a mother. So,
Sure.
And a business owner now. So
Sure.
yeah, that's where Danu comes in.
Gotcha. And you're a speaker and a facilitator. I noticed the other day, you posted something and I thought it was really interesting because I'm a big subscriber and a believer in, the power of the subconscious mind. And thoughts are things, and that, we are the sum total of our thoughts to this point in time. We could be no more, no less, et cetera, et cetera. And I do some studying, a lot of studying on that topic. You wrote down 3 statements or a couple statements on a mirror, and you were repeating those affirmations. And I wondered where you got that from, and what do you find? What significance do you find in that, and the importance of it?
So I do a lot of my personal work and my work with my clients. If I do a workshop, definitely my one-to-one coaching clients, we talk about mindset and affirmations and, retraining the brain through the reticular activating system, some neuroscience stuff there. And when you repeat those things, at first it may seem awkward and imposter syndrome sneaks in and you think, who am I? I have some on my board I could read off to you actually in my office here. But when I put those out there, I am, I will, and I think I deserve was the one I put up. Yeah.
Let me just say this.
Go
so
ahead.
you have them on your board, and it's the I am statements, because that's what I wanted to address with you. See, I have I am. I don't know if you could read it. I am is tattooed on my wrist.
Okay.
And it's been
cool.
there for 100 years, right? Because whatever we put after I am,
you will become.
That's it. So, but what I wanted to say is, have you ever heard of an individual named Neville Goddard?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to get you his information. He was born in 1905 in Barbados to a family of 12. He came over at age 17 to New York to become an actor. His story is just brilliant. And he got into, by virtue of a circuitous route, to teaching this metaphysical stuff and all these principles by way of a meeting that he met with this gentleman. And they used to call him the Mad Mystic of 48th Street. And he would fill out this theater on 48th Street in New York, and every Sunday and Wednesday, and he would have meetings and stuff. And he would just discuss and espouse the power of the I am. And he states that I will is to confess that we don't have. So when his thing is like, that's what I was saying, I really think that you would benefit from that. And then you mentioned also, Kate, the reticular activating system.
Yes.
Awesome feature that we have, right? It's back here somewhere.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the reticular activating system.
Sure. So I am obsessed with the way the brain works and how we retrain it, and to think those I am statements and then to take action with I will. And the reticular activating system, you can retrain this. And basically, it's a gatekeeper. It controls a lot of different things. And, what I'm focusing on is habits and retraining our thoughts. But your flight or fight system, your sleep patterns, all of these things are linked to the reticular activating system and other areas of the brain. It's not, the only thing working. But if you retrain yourself and you start saying these things over and over, your reticular activating system basically wants to be right and it will believe you. So, for example, I have on my board up here, I am the missing piece to every opportunity that presents itself to me.
Nice.
And right? I repeat that. And I repeat that. It's on my board. I have a board of what I do every single day for my business. I'm the teacher and me likes that schedule. And I repeat that. I have it written down. I'm driving places. I will repeat it out loud, and then I think about it.
Say it again.
Sure. I am the missing piece to every opportunity that presents itself to me.
Okay. When I go ahead and rewind this and edit it, I'm writing that down. I have one that's similar. It says, I repeat it 9,000 times. I have a lavish, dependable, and steady income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit.
Love
And
it.
it came from this guy. I think he was a Pulitzer Prize winner, Dr. Robert Millikan, back in the 40s. He was a physicist,
Okay.
but as a young man, he was impoverished, and he did not want to. He was like, I refuse, right? Kind of like coming to your end, right? Kind of like you did with your career at school and stuff, and we're kind of transitioning into this learning about ourselves, et cetera. And he locked himself into a room, as story has it, and he wrote out that affirmation until he committed it to memory. So, and of course, going from impoverished, he was just this wonderful benefactor. But I love the fact that you, coming out of all that adversity, you really found your calling, and that calling came from questioning. You were actually to the point where you were Googling, and you said, and so I love that affirmation that you say that's on the board. You're also a speaker. Now, your whole time as an educator, you've been speaking to people. When you found yourself for the first time giving a keynote, number one, what was the keynote about? Number two, did you have any concerns or fear or stage fright?
So I'm going to talk about my first one, and then I'm going to tell you now because when I started saying that statement, I didn't believe it. I had to retrain that reticular activating system.
Yes.
So my first keynote happened to be virtual because that's how it was happening still. And it was for a menopause summit. Even though I'm not in menopause yet, they approached me to talk about mindset. And I talked about mindset and different tools that when you're going through any journey, in life as a woman, that, you need to put yourself on the list. And I gave them a bunch of takeaways. And I'm going to tell you that I videotaped myself. I recorded myself on my phone. I was doing all kinds of crazy things to make sure that I sounded okay, that I could talk in front of people. And I got to tell you, Bobby, now I say that every single day. I actually have a bunch of things I say I could share some others if you want, but that one I say every single day, and I say it, before events, I say it before our podcast, I say those things. And now I used to say to people, well, I was an educator and now I'm a coach and a speaker, and it was kind of like, okay, now I say I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a workshop facilitator. I am a coach. Just like you heard on that Instagram reel that I was kind of saying it quietly, and then it got a little bit louder and louder.
Your voice. It was perfect. That's why I really wanted to, and dive into that a little bit. But now so it's not so flimsy. It's got meat and concrete underneath of it. So what a difference! Your self-confidence and and it exudes, right? It comes out. You become what you think about and speak. That the mind is like what they say. The mind's like a computer, and the words that you use are the program running it.
Absolutely. So, and I truly believe what you focus on will become your reality. And I am literally living proof of that right now. When I left, I'm sure many people were like, who does she think she is, leaving after 20 years in education? What is she going to do now? And believe it or not, some people said to me, well, I guess that wasn't your purpose. You're kind of too old to be starting over. I'm like, really? And
isn't it funny what happens when you leave the herd?
It is. And part of that, I realize now in reflection, is they probably want to go too, but they can't. They don't feel like they can, at least, and I use that for fuel to, push past it and keep going. But I literally now have stepped into this role where just this week, I booked a workshop. As you said, I'm a facilitator for workshops. And then someone else pitched me to do something. And they came in a little low. I'm just going to be honest, compared to what I was expecting for what I'm going to.
Regarding the fee.
Yes, the fee. Yeah. Now, if you had talked to me when I first wrote that statement down, I am the missing piece to every opportunity that presents itself, I would have taken the fee, done a little dance, and said, oh my God, I can't believe they're actually doing this. Like, the imposter syndrome, like, is this real? And now I'm like, no, we're going to have to come and talk about this because this is, high value and whatnot, without saying too much about what that is. And I'm a totally different person because I have rewired my brain. So I traveled that path first. And my goal now is to help anyone who's willing to listen on podcasts, through coaching, speaking, workshops. I'm going to actually go and talk to a local softball team. I sponsor their team. And I just want to go talk to those girls for free. I'm not doing like a paid event because I want this mindset stuff to happen earlier for everyone who's ready to listen.
Well, you've got a daughter sandwiched in between two sons, and I believe she runs track.
She does.
And she came home last week or the week before, not long ago, with an acronym that sounds like a pig. So she said something about pig. Can you describe to me? Yes,
absolutely. So you have seen that on my Instagram. I love it. So my daughter, whether or not I'm influencing her, who knows, maybe she's influencing me, right? But she came home and told me, I'm ordering a long sleeve t-shirt. Can you send the Venmo to this mom who's sending it in? And I'm like, okay, here we go. Another shirt we're buying, as if we don't have enough track shirts and all the other sports we do. I said, so I'm like, okay, what's the shirt? And she explains it to me. And she's like, and it has a pig on the back. I'm like, a pig on the back? What does that have to do with track? And she's like, well, PIG, pretend it's good. And I thought, wait a minute, what? So then I asked her to explain it. And sometimes their coach, for winter track anyway, puts them in events that they might not necessarily be the strongest in, but he needs someone to run the events. So sometimes she's a distance runner, and sometimes he'll put her in a relay that's like for sprinters. So she and some of the girls on the team came up with this pretend it's good, and they say pretend it's good before the event, so that they can set their mindset in the right direction, and then they do well. And I got to be honest, she's doing some things. She's a little mini one, my daughter, and
she's fierce.
She is fierce. I mean, she does hurdles sometimes. I'm like, and some of the coaches have said, I don't even know how you get your legs over that. And she's like, I got this. Pretend it's good.
I'm fierce. I can do this.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I posted it to share that, one, our kids see some really cool things out there in the world and come up with these ideas. It doesn't just have to be, gurus, and steal those ideas or share them with your kids. I tell my clients all the time, use that for your daughter. Tell your son,
Absolutely.
So.
Well, that's a good one. Getting back to that teacher I'm going to share with you later on. His big mantra is assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. See yourself as have already done it, and not looking. I feel that. Not like in thinking like as a audience member at a keynote that Kate McCauley's putting on, and seeing Kate on the stage and looking as though that's you speaking and everything, but literally see yourself assuming the feeling. How would it feel if I were to speak as a keynote in front of 1,000 people? How would it feel? Whose hand would I be shaking? Who would be congratulating me? How confident would I be? And actually see it through your eyes, feel it, take on all the sensory perception of it being reality, pretending it's good, doing the pig thing. Yeah. So my hat's off to your daughter and the teammates that came up with that.
I'll tell her.
Yeah, it really has a lot of meaning in my estimation. And, and that being said, I've got, certain folks that, oh, Bobby, you're just woo woo and you're all this and stuff. And I'm like, look, man, just look around, I mean, it works. So,
right. And I'm have to take action, of course they practice track, so that woo woo, I hear that as well. And that's part of it, but you have to take action too. It's not a magic pill, I tell people. Amen. But I got to tell you have to send me that. Is it a book or it's just information on the guy who came up with the IM?
Well, no. He is, what happened was he allowed himself, he was a speaker. He went on, he was a New York fella, and his story is really intriguing, but he went out to the West Coast and he taught out there, but he's at the Wilshire Ebell Theater in Los Angeles, in that area. And he would pack these people in, and he would allow people to record. Back when they had reel-to-reels and they were monster machines, people would drag them in and they would record his speeches. Okay. And he would never charge for a speech. He was just insanely generous with his time and with his knowledge. And these people would take these recordings. And now if you Google him and you go on YouTube, he's all over the internet. It's all free resources. And he was very instrumental in the formation of my thought life and everything like that. Cool. Just a wonderful guy. There's two things that he teaches on, and one's called the law. It's God's law. And the other one is the promise. And
Okay.
if you catch him in the back end, a lot of the audio was really kind of corrupted. He died in 1972. So everything before that was these recordings that have been digitally mastered and stuff. So they're a little choppy, and he speaks, he's got a British accent. He's got a really unique, tone to him. But if you can cut through all that, a lot of the stuff when I came on board, I stumbled on them. There are no accidents, right? So
Sure.
I kind of found them. And he was talking really deep and stuff. And it was later in his career that he started to speak on this thing that he called the promise, which I totally subscribe to now after years of study and listening to. But that sounds way out there. The more practical stuff. In fact, he used to get audiences by the droves when he talked on the law. You can have anything you want, this type of thing.
Okay.
And he was the predecessor to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. He was the predecessor to all those people.
Amazing.
All of them.
I'm going to
All of
love
them.
this. I'm
All of them.
excited.
When you talk about the law of attraction and the secret and all that stuff,
I'm going to love it because I do what you just said. I actually visualize myself. I visualized myself giving those keynote speaking engagements to the point of what I was wearing, who was sitting in the front row, what it felt like, and that whole vibe there. So I'm going to really enjoy that. I can't wait to actually
Well, it's funny because
check it out.
You're going to love it. I really do. And I'm interested to get your feedback. But way before, they put neuroscience to work and stuff like that, he was practicing these things. And, with the alpha, beta, theta waves prior to drifting off to sleep or nap when we're in that kind of dreamy, but we still have control of our conscious minds. He always subscribed to the fact that once we lost consciousness and drifted into sleep, that then it takes off. So it goes off into its own direction. We have no control over really kind of what's going on in dreamland, right?
Okay.
So he said that last waking moment or thought is what you want to fall asleep into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And so as hard as that may be, because once you drift, you start to go down, you know how your mind can go down rabbit holes. So it's really intriguing. He kind of came to those conclusions and he shared it openly and willingly, and countless thousands, hundreds of thousands have been the beneficiary of it. And I'm just fortunate enough to be able to hopefully share it.
I can't wait.
It's really
excited.
Amazing. All right, let's go. We gotta go read it.
Right. I gotta go see it.
Well, that's the reason for my tattoo. I am. So
love it. I love it.
And yeah, we'll get into that later. But more back to our regular scheduled programming. I've made notes.
Okay.
I am speaking with Kate McCauley, coach, facilitator, keynote speaker, and she's gracious enough once again to share her time with us. And we're learning about what motivates her mindset. You can find her over on the LinkedIn platform, Instagram platform, danunow.com. That's DANUNOW, danunow.com. Check her out, visit her, see what her offerings are all about. You'd be glad you did. And Kate, you give your audience tools to gain confidence, pursue their dreams, and take charge of their future. That's kind of your mission. Was that mission by design? Did you come up with that on purpose? Or was that a before or after thing? Was it a result of what you were doing, or did you intentionally set out to do that and you are now doing it?
So I think it was probably due to the path that I traveled as an educator. I always had different tools in my toolbox that I could use to help my students grow and learn. And I used different tools when I shifted my mindset, when I left my teaching career and started my business. When I became a mother, there's lots of different times that I had tools in my toolbox that I could refer to and pull out, so to speak. So I like to give takeaways and, something that the audience could use right now, so that if they're feeling like, I don't know if I should actually still go after this dream, or why am I good enough to do this? Or I'm so frustrated, I feel like I'm going to explode. I like to have tools that they can, go to and then create habits with those tools, because it's all good and great to have this list of things or, this stuff written down, but never use them, that's not good.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would say that because the path that I traveled as a teacher and then using these things myself, I don't want to just talk and motivate people. I want to actually give them things so that they can take action and change their life, because they deserve to be happy and healthy.
That's a worthy ideal. It really is. You've got a gift and you're exploiting it. Amazing.
Yep.
So, for those few that may have mentioned the fact that maybe teaching wasn't your purpose, they were absolutely right on that front. But
you know
on
what?
this front,
Teaching was my purpose when I was there because I was phenomenal. That's why so many people said, I can't believe you're leaving. That was fully my purpose when I was there. And I am so grateful to be a part of that journey of all of those students and the colleagues that I was fortunate to work with. But now my purpose is here.
sure.
And that I was exactly where I was meant to be every step of the way. People said to me, because the gun situation was 6 years before I actually resigned, and people said to me numerous times, why did you ever go back after that situation? And, I wasn't ready yet. I needed more time, even though it wasn't the greatest experience. Like you said, it was traumatic in many ways.
You had to go through those,
Absolutely.
Everything happened by design. I mean,
It absolutely did.
And when you visualize something, and it's something that this gentleman will be sharing with you when you get down to it, is like you'll look back on it. You'll have this vision, like as a keynote speaker and stuff, and now it's coming to fruition, whereby you're actually executing and stuff. And you'll look back on it, and people will say, "Oh, you're just lucky," or "Oh, that just happened by happenstance and stuff." But what happens is we are led across a bridge of incidents that's like an invisible thread. You had to go through that 6 years of those tribulations and those trials to actually bring about what you're doing today. And now it's really unique and cool, what I think, right? It's starting to accelerate because you just said in the course of the last week, you've had this one and that one. So I think that that's starting to gain momentum and traction, and super proud of you. Very cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It's exciting. And, I feel fortunate. And I do laugh when you said the lucky thing. I saw that there's a TikTok trend called Lucky Girl Syndrome. And part of me was like, all right, whatever these young girls want to call it, it's really the law of attraction and manifesting in those I am statements. There's no luck about it, though. There's a lot of hard work, but many people who want to make a change will say, well, she's lucky. She did it because of this. And that's not it at all. It's the mindset shift. It's the work behind it. So, it's exciting though. And I appreciate you saying that, you see that happening, because I'm seeing it too. And I'm excited to see where it takes me.
It's evident. I mean, it's totally evident. You'll just continue to, what happens is, getting back to the action portion of it, which follows the woo-woo part of it. Okay. So now you've sat down, Kate, and you've done all your visualization, you're affirming and stuff like this. What will happen in terms of taking action, and the fact that you don't procrastinate and poo-poo the action, is you'll be compelled to move in a direction. An individual will come by your way. It's no accident that we met, as an example.
Right.
And those are the types of serendipitous things that happen when you chart a course in terms of being that individual that you want to become, as though you already are, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So cool. Yeah.
So tell me about it. Now, you visualize the success of the coaching portion of your opportunity. So what is the biggest pushback regarding a coaching client? Do you find some people are all in on one level and then they're reluctant on the next?
You know what the hardest part about my coaching program? Because I focus on mindset, the hardest part is actually for the individual to say, yes, let's do it. And we could have a great call. I coach women one-to-one. I do the workshops and the speaking engagements for all kinds of different groups, but I do women one-to-one for my coaching. And these women were brave enough to make the call, first off, and I congratulate them, because that's a huge step to say, I want to shift my mindset, because you're acknowledging that you're not exactly where you want to be. And a lot of them tell me that there was fear to even push that appointment, submission on my app. And then when we get on the call, I do a mindset breakthrough, regardless of whether or not, they have said yes or no. That's what we do. We talk about where they are, where they want to go. And they many times have an overwhelming breakthrough on that initial call. There are some people that I've turned away because I'm not a therapist. I don't have a magic pill, but the women who I feel are a good fit and aligned with me, because as I said, I'm from Philly, so some people aren't ready for that tough love in some ways, although I think many people would benefit from it. I do, tell them who I am and how this is going to work. So if I invite them to be a part of my program, there's some different things that I say, well, I'm going to need you to commit to, being accountable, letting me hold you accountable and doing your part, all of those good things. A lot of times people, yes, I'm ready. There are some people, the hardest part, they're like, yes, I'm ready. And then I don't hear from them. And then I have to follow up. And in many cases, they do, come on board. We go through the whole, contract and setting all of that good stuff up. But that's the hardest part for me, not the conversation initially. I get a lot of those calls, but the hardest part is really talking the woman into, you actually do deserve this.
Yeah. Just before they have them flip the switch. Isn't that ironic? And yet
right.
Here you are, you provide value at the outset on the call before you've even put anybody under contract or obligation.
Sure.
And so you gotta figure then that if you're going, getting a goodly percentage of those folks on the back end via follow up, that value proposition that you gave at the outset really, right. hit home. So I would encourage you to that's good business by doing that.
And I mean, I do realize initially I was upset about it, thinking, why is this woman not getting back to me? She said she wanted to do it. And now I know it's because she wants to work on her mindset. We're working on mindset. So I have to guide them a little bit further sometimes just to say, all right, you're working on your mindset. Do you want to actually do this? And sometimes it's not a good fit and they're not ready and they come back to me in a month. And then we get the show rolling. But
I always wondered that. I always wondered if there was resistance and stuff because it's a big commitment,
It is.
But the service you offer and for the people to actually get off the schneid, as it were, and make the phone call, I mean, that takes a lot of gumption, So
it does.
Hats off to those ladies. And they're in good hands when they finally come under contract with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, let me read here to my notes once again.
Sure.
Founder, CEO, Brace, too cool. Good juju in the universe. I like that. That's what you're doing out there. Real quick about your upbringing. How did everything? You had a fun upbringing in the suburbs of Philly. Everything was cool.
I did. I was very fortunate to grow up right here in Philadelphia area, and my parents were what we call the Griswolds. So right. My brothers and I, we actually would watch the movie before the summer vacations. So I had traveled to a lot of different places as a kid and as an adult. And I have 3 brothers. So I'm the oldest of the 4 of us. And I think that gives me a little bit of fierceness as well. When you grow up having 3 brothers, we're all very close in age. So my parents are brave, and now my kids are close in age too. But yes, I had a wonderful upbringing. I want to say that my mom and dad are probably the reasons why I've taken both paths. That teaching career definitely was influenced by my mother, and my dad left his job. He was working in financial institutions, left that, to do his own thing as a financial planner. He's living the best retired life now, but I saw him. I was in high school when he did that. So I saw that happening.
Yeah.
Right. And although it didn't happen for me, initially I didn't go into business. It's happening for me now. So that definitely played a role. I don't even know if I've ever thanked him for that now that I'm thinking about it. But that definitely played a role in my decision. I saw him do that and be successful, and I knew it was possible. And I knew I had all these other skills as an educator. So, I was very fortunate.
To make.
I do. After this podcast, absolutely.
Because
I'm his favorite daughter, so he'll love to get that.
By all means. Absolutely. It goes without saying. But he took that entrepreneurial bent and followed his passion and his dreams. Yeah, I am very appreciative of what you're bringing to the world and sharing your knowledge and your insight, and moreover, the passion behind it to deliver it in such a way that's user-friendly. It sounds like you're a fun person. I don't know. It's just something I catch.
I think I am.
So where do I sign?
Right.
Would you consider coaching a male?
So I have a business coach myself. I have a speaker coach as well. And my business coach, initially it was all female, we do group coaching and some individual. So she did bring on a couple men who were jumping into that coaching scene. And it's funny, you and I talked in the beginning. I said, I kind of stalked you. I'm like the FBI. I know a little bit about what you did. I checked out all of your podcasts. And when he came into the group, I was considered one of the OGs. I had been there around for a while. Right. So we introduced ourselves, and one of the other women, Danielle, who's a fabulous burnout coach, actually. So we're all different types of coaches. She had told him, she's like, oh, just so you know, Kate's going to follow you. She's going to be your hype girl, And I said, you're the first guy who's in the program with us. But obviously as a teacher, I've taught like both sexes, so I was comfortable with it. And he was laughing. He's like, Kate, it's okay, So then I was like, you know what? Who knows? Who knows, right? Everything is evolving. When I first started this, I had no idea that I was going to be a keynote speaker. I had no idea I was going to be facilitating workshops. I thought I was going to be a coach. And here I am. I have a talent coordinator. I have all these different things. So if I was approached and I thought it was a good fit, by a man who wanted to shift his mindset, I'm not opposed to it. But I, for some reason, started out thinking I needed to have a certain type of person that I was working with, I guess, to get clients. So that's really why I worked with women initially. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. It would have to obviously be a good fit, just as some women are not good fits, to be honest, for my program.
Well, I see, in addition to being an super active and engaged parent and wife, spouse, and I see future book author. I see podcast host. I see YouTube influencer.
Podcast is pulling on my heartstrings. Someone asked me, who edits it. I don't want to do the editing part. So that's why I am actually going live on Instagram every Friday. It's not really podcast, but it's just how you doing? We're checking in with everybody. And I'm going to invite, if you're interested, I'm going to invite anyone who I'm a guest on their podcast to come on live, tell a little bit about, our talk, promote your show so you can get more listeners. So I could see the podcast thing happening. Who knows, right? Probably if we talk again in a year from now, I'll have a whole list of things that I'm jumping into.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to that conversation, and I look forward to continuing to follow along on your journey. It's certainly inspirational for me. I'm glad I got the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, and by virtue of the socials. So that was awesome. And,
right back at you. I enjoy it as well. I like what you're putting out into the world.
Well, look at me go. Look at me go. So with that being said, we're going to wind it down, Kate. I know you got a full plate. We are going to, oh man, I can't see anything. See, now that's a statement that's wrong, right? I can't see anything. Of course I can't see anything. I keep saying I can't. Well, folks, you've been listening to another episode of the Motivated Mindset Podcast with my special guest, Kate McCauley. And I want to thank you for tuning in. Be sure to visit Kate at danunow.com. That's DANU now.com. Check her out on all the social media sites, I'm sure, Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Kate McCauley, McCauley. And you'll be glad you did. And for Kate, I'm your host, Bobby Stein. And until next time, saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening. And please, folks, as always, take good care.